Hello everybody, this is Mr.D giving you a video on the ChemCom version of the Energy Systems Animation activity. So this activity will primarily be using a PhET activity, the Energy Systems, but more on that as we go. To start with, you can see that we have our normal rubric that you should not erase right over here. So this rubric will be how you are evaluated, and there is directions to remind you of how to name your document. So as we go through this and we take a look, you have got these directions that are hidden on this picture for you, talking about the parts that you can select, how you're going to need to click the energy symbol thing that is right over here. So you'll only need to click that sometimes, other times you won't. And make sure that you start right there with the systems when you do so. You can click the link here, or this big picture is a link as well to be able to get you to where you need to go. Now, whether you start clicking the link or not, you have this background information to take care of. Now, this is an older version that you are seeing here. There have been some upgrades since this, as I intend to make those upgrades immediately after I'm done this video. But still, you're going to be using either your notes that you got in class, or you'll Google search various things. I've included a link to an energy slide that's for my academic kids, just to see if you wanted to maybe get something off of that. Most of these questions can be answered using your brain. For example, defining the law of conservation of energy. That means energy cannot be created nor destroyed. As such, the energy that we start with will have to equal the energy that we end with. Since we cannot destroy it or create it, whatever we start with, we end with. And it has to go somewhere. It can't just disappear. We can't just destroy it and be gone forever with it. So a lot of these questions will involve you solving them with your brain more than looking up answers on your notes or your PowerPoint. So understand that there's a lot of brain work when it comes to this background info. It gives you definitions, then has you use them. Some of this can be looked up. In fact, I can tell you right now that the Google Slides that I shared with you is excellent for looking up this system part right here, talking to you about that and the surroundings. These two parts are excellent to look up on the Google Slides that was shared at the top here. In any case, you then get to the animation itself. When you do the animation, do not click the energy symbols yet, as it directs right over here. Do not click them yet. You will click them later. So you should get to something that looks like this. And you can feel free to have the bicyclist get moving. That's what that slide wheel is. Occasionally you will have to feed the bicyclist as you do. But this first question is just asking you to identify the objects that are here within this animation, which you can even see that I provided for you on this picture. The food gives the energy to the person, which then gives the energy to other objects. And as you can see here, the person is on a bike, so the energy then goes to the bike, which then goes to the belt, then to the wheel, then to the generator, to the heater, and the water. And that would be an excellent way to answer that question. Then you're going to want to select those energy system boxes. If we look at the document itself, the animation, we change the boxes. We need to feed the person to give them the chemical energy that they start with, which then, as you see, turns into this gray mechanical energy, which that energy then becomes this blue electrical energy, which goes to the red thermal energy. And as you can see, occasionally you will see some energy that'll fly off as heat. That is, of course, some of our wasted energy there. So as you take a look at this, you can solve a lot of the questions just by watching the animation. Now, that said, you should be able to answer those questions. But then it brings us to this evaluation part. Now, this evaluation part has us setting our animation up exactly like it's here. So kettle, then wheel, then bulb. Kettle, wheel, and bulb. So kettle, wheel, bulb. So once you get the kettle, the wheel, and the bulb, you're going to want to heat that kettle. This will cause the thermal energy to come from the heat, which will change to, in this it calls it mechanical energy. We'd call it wind in our class, but this one calls it mechanical. Then electrical And then finally, it's going to either be thermal wasted or it's going to be given light energy that we have up there. So as you can see here, we need to go from the one energy to the other to the other. Now, the question itself only wants the starting, a transition, and the ending. So in this case, we started with heat. So that would be thermal dash K for thermal dash kinetic. Now, it then became either mechanical, wind, or what was the other one? Mechanical, wind, or electrical. Any of those would work here. So mechanical, wind, or electrical dash K. And it ended with light dash K because we're doing the bulb. And then we answer the questions. We're going to do this not once, not twice, but 3 times. And then we're going to have a slightly different type of question, each of them requiring us to reset it in between. The last thing we get is this flow chart. Now this, I wish I made this. Another teacher made this and shared it with me, and it's fantastic. You will create an energy flow chart below. You need to double click the image and drag the various words to connect these transfers. It doesn't need to be a straight line. In fact, on the example, it's not straight at all. It goes over in a little bit of a backwards C shape, and then it splits into its 2 ends. So feel free to look at the example that's been provided. The parts of the energy need to be placed at the top, then the symbols will be placed in order, and then label. When you do this, you're going to want to make the item in the animation as well. So here, sun powering a fan. I will go to my animation and I'll be like, okay, I got the sun and I'm going to need to power the fan with it. But you'll notice the sun's not really powering the fan with the wheel here, so I may need to change that into something else. I'm not going to give you all the answers, just many of them. Once you figure out how that works, you double click what you're dealing with. It takes a minute for it to load, and when it does, you will then have something that looks like this. So you're going to grab your sun and you're going to put that where it goes, and we want to have the fan since it said it wanted the sun to the fan, and then we're going to need a middle step. Once we have that set up, we then go, okay, well, the sun started out with light energy, and then stuff happened, and eventually we got mechanical energy from the wind. So the mechanical energy is, how we have for our wind. We're going to have our fan in there as well. So the mechanical comes from the fan. We've got the light from the sun, and then you're going to need to figure out the 1, 2, or 3 steps in between. And you can take these arrows and you can use them to, guide where it's going. And you can sit there and flip them around. You can have them go in all sorts of silly directions. But whatever you do, when you're done, you're going to click this save and close thing here. And when you do, it will make it so that your chart then is set up as you did when you were playing with it. This is how you would solve this question. Then that's the last part, and it's going to be one of the most involved parts. But in the end, you're going to go back and forth playing with the animation until you manage to solve all the little obstacles I put in your way. Make sure that you label it properly with the directions here, and that you include everybody's name, because that is forgotten all the time. Share it with my .us account, and there you go. That should be the assignment. Take care, and good luck. You got this.